Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do another entry, this one yet again based on one of your newer suggestions, and this one yet again following the theme involving a dinosaur-like cryptid. So how about that? 2 for 1 when it comes to this week involving dinosaur cryptids. It's definitely a popular topic with a lot of you fans out there, so I'm always happy to do another similar entry here. So this one has to do with a cryptid that's found out there in Bolivia, and to this day it could still be there. And the reason why I also picked this is because not only is it a dinosaur-like cryptid, but it also could be more on the mythological side. It could actually be a deity of sorts that locates that area, and that way it comes across only if it feels it definitely has to do so. So any encounters with it essentially will be more on the lines of a spiritual or some kind of mythological side, and I'll explain to that more on a minute. And it has to do with this. You're looking at it now. It's a cryptid that's known as Jichi, which is another reason why I picked it, because of a very unique sounding name. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating info associated with this cryptid. So what is the Jichi? This Jichi is, again, some dinosaur-like cryptid that's found there in the rivers and lakes of Bolivia. And apparently it's been there a good while. It's another one of these monsters that when you go there, it's just told after generation of people encountering this creature. So how far back it goes, who knows? But it's definitely passed along multitude of generations. And the way it's described is this. So it's definitely up into the air as far as its true physical description, but at least when it comes to its most basic characteristics, it's this. It's described as being as something that's very large, being of a long serpent-like body, or it could have more on the lines of a dinosaur-like body, along with those involving feet, those involving tails, those involving arms even. It just depends on whoever's encountering it at the time. And the head of it, true enough, looks like a dinosaur, but attached to it is a tongue that's been described as being more on the lines of a dragon. And then by far its most interesting aspect is this. On top of its head, it has this long white hair that's almost described as being that of an old woman. So there's definitely something you don't see when it comes to these cryptids or these monsters or even these dinosaurs, something involving long white hair. But there it is, there in the lakes and the rivers of Bolivia, and for the most part, it seems to be just something along the lines of a benign being, something that's just there living its own life and rarely encounters humans. It doesn't seem to be any kind of danger to anyone that's out there. However, remember I was mentioning earlier, that's more on the lines of a mythological side because of this. Apparently, it makes its presence known whenever anything is harming the waters around its area. So it's more along the lines of a deity, almost a guardian of sorts that protects that location. And when it feels that it has to come out at the right time, like let's say there's danger to the waters or something is just creating havoc to the environment or the location there, then it'll make its presence known, and it'll definitely do so in a very memorable manner. Such was the case here, involving apparently a fisherman, someone who was there in the waters of that area, and when he was there, he wasn't supposed to be there. I don't know if this was like a lake of some kind that was forbidden from having any fishing done, but there he was doing some fishing and apparently having a really good catch. But whenever he left his boat to do some things, whatever it was these activities were, away from his boat, once he returned, he found his boat actually in shambles. It was completely broken in multiple pieces, just completely beyond repair. And much to his shock, or his double shock, first at seeing the boat in this state, and then the second thing, seeing something swimming away from the waters that looked like this, like the El Jichi. So that's when he realized that he was definitely dealing with this guardian deity, this creature, this mythological being that was once again protecting the waters there. It mainly did so, it seemed like, as a warning of sorts, telling this person, don't do that again, with the hidden application that this could be something happening to him rather than his boat afterward. But yes, very few encounters as far as people coming across this creature. But when it does so, again, it's mainly just to protect the waters. And if that happens, it seems to have some more warnings afterward. Like people there in that area have blamed droughts on the El Jichi. So if something is happening that's involving, like, let's say, very, very harsh, dry conditions, and that causes the water levels to go very, very low, drought-like levels, then somebody stating, people there will state that somebody did something bad, and that's causing the El Jichi to cause this. Another thing involved bad fishing as well. So remember, you can fish in certain areas, and the El Jichi is fine, but if somebody's doing that bad fishing, then that's what, like if there's bad fishing overall, like in this case, people are not catching fish, it's because somebody did something wrong, and then that's when El Jichi is blamed for it. And then as far as actual explanations of what it could be, besides it being like a mythological being, it's this. It's the idea that it's a long lost dinosaur. So remember I was mentioning earlier about it being a 2-for-1 when it comes to this set of video series for this go around. And it's because if it's a truly a long lost dinosaur, which to me makes more sense, then it's yet again another dinosaur-like creature that's within those Amazon-like areas. How many times have we heard of these tales involving these creatures that are found deep in the jungles of the Amazon forest and living there to this day, hybrids of sorts from who knows how many millions of years past of the extinction of dinosaurs. And so they've evolved, they become smaller or in some cases larger, and they've been able to just adapt very nicely within those forests. And then that way they hardly interact with people, and when they do so, they live out their natural lives there, such is the case here with this El Jichi. And there's proof of this from an actual expedition that occurred from a father and son. The father was a guy by the name of Colonel Percy Fawcett, and he was someone that was apparently a very famous explorer there of the Amazon. He took his son with him to try to find this golden city called El Dorado. And when he did so, they went into the jungle, deep into the jungle, in fact. And whenever they were there, unfortunately, their bodies were never found afterward. I don't know what happened to them. I'll have to look into more research. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there on the internet about what people think happened to them, but they disappeared. Their bodies were never found, but their materials, the stuff that they were describing on their journeys was. And in it, it included this. You're looking at a picture that was drawn by Colonel Percy Fawcett's son. His son was someone who was chronicling the adventures that they had there, and he did so by making these drawings. And what do those things look like that are on the ground? They look like dinosaur footprints, don't they? Well, that's what they were surmising as well, that when they were coming across these tales, I guess, of this El Jichi, they realized that this must have been another long lost dinosaur. In fact, Colonel Fawcett wrote this exactly. He stated, "In the forest along the Maididi River, some mysterious and enormous beast has frequently been disturbed in the swamps, possibly a primeval monster like those reported in other parts of the continent." And he was basically linking this along with the idea of all these footprints being from some kind of dinosaur. And again, that to me makes sense. This is something that would most likely be a sauropod-like dinosaur. In fact, it's been described as being something along the lines of a diplodocus, or it could just be another creature, something like that's been described like for the Loch Ness monster as another good example. Something with a long neck, a snake-like creature, like in terms of its body, maybe even a tail, maybe even a very, very a big, like a head, like a dinosaur, who knows? But at least when it comes to its existence, it definitely matches what you and I think of a dinosaur evolving along all those millions of years and then living there in that area. And if it is there, it truly is within the best perfect spot. It's just something that's surviving to this day, waiting for the final encounter or someone, like let's say with true video camera footage or something along photographs of capturing this El Jichi and then proving that yes, indeed it is a dinosaur. But that's pretty much it. That's all the info really associated with this creature. Not much really in terms of encounters because of how well it's hidden within the Amazon, but those that have encountered it like I mentioned earlier, as far as the colonel and then of course that fisherman, they seem to all match together in terms of El Jichi still being there to this day. But whether it's a guardian type deity or whether it's something else like a mythological being or just the long lost dinosaur, it's with you to decide. But you know what my opinion is, at least with regards to it. But if anyone has any more info, anything else I might have missed, please post those comments below. Anybody from that area too happen to have traveled there into Bolivia or somewhere in the surrounding areas, whatever involves those rivers and lakes, and you know more information, at least from a local experience, please post those comments too. That'd be really great to hear. I think that to me still the most fascinating part is the idea that if it truly is a guardian entity, then it's definitely something with an intelligence, something that can absolutely know whenever it has to come out, when it knows that there's something bad happening within its area and it has to enact not revenge but something along the lines of justice to ensure that it can teach whoever is doing that a lesson of sorts. So that definitely intrigued me the most when I was reading this information here. So all right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.